Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So
I'm
glad
so
to finally
excited.
have you.
I know, it's nice to finally meet you guys.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. So a little backstory. The reason we know Alex is actually on my travels to Thailand. I get a text message from our good buddy, Michael Jordan, the founder of Unreal, which I think
Michael Jordan.
the Michael Jordan, the Michael Jordan, Michael E. Jordan. This is a big time for Michael Jordan, actually, with the MJ
Yeah.
documentary coming out and everything.
Yeah.
This is tough.
Big buzzword,
Yeah,
Michael Jordan.
Huge buzzword. But he texts, I think he WhatsApped us, right? I
Yeah,
think we decided
He was
on
smart for that.
that. Yeah, super savvy, knowing like international travel, WhatsApp's the way to go. But he puts Alex and I in a WhatsApp together and says, hey, you two idiots are in Thailand together. You should collaborate. And we never actually did collaborate because I was only there for like a couple weeks. And you were there for like 3 months.
And who knows where I was at that point.
Right.
I could have been anywhere in Thailand.
Yeah, so what brought you to your travels? Or I guess,
Gosh.
give us a little intro, I guess, because
Okay.
we're also meeting you for the first time, which I
Yeah.
find thrilling.
So, Michael Jordan was my boss for 2.5 years, I think. And so that's how I know him.
Okay.
We went to college together and I was working for him. And then after a couple years, I decided that I wanted to kind of take off and do my own thing with my photography. And once I started my own business, I kind of started planting the seeds mentally to just dip out because I knew I was my own boss and I could make my own rules. But I've always wanted to travel, and I always regretted not studying abroad in college. I've never done a solo trip. I've done them in the States, but hardly, maybe a weekend. I've never actually been that far out of the country. The furthest I've been is Belize, and that. So I kind of just, I don't know, I started to reach this point in life where I was like ready to go. I knew I was, and I just had no idea. I was telling you guys, I had no idea where I wanted to go. There wasn't like a definite purpose for going to Thailand. But I just knew I wanted to get out, and not really like to run away from anything, but just to experience new things. And after I think it was a year and a half working for myself, I kind of understood that winter in Minnesota is kind of like an off season for photographers, not necessarily, but can be if you allow it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of, I kept seeing all these signs. I'm a big numbers person. I kept seeing all these signs for 11 in November, and I was like, okay, this winter is going to happen. And then
We need to understand what these numbers mean. This is crucial.
I'm a big like angel numbers person. So when
Angel
you see triples
numbers.
like 111 or license plates, is a huge thing that me and my friends are always sending pictures of to each other. But
Specifically ones or any number?
any number,
Triples.
yeah,
Okay.
just triples.
Mhm.
And then once you get a little more into it, then you can, I don't know, start seeing patterns with not just triples, but like random numbers like 420 or whatever.
Right. Is there a significance to the three numbers 420?
You know, it was a special day a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We got to celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we gotta celebrate.
exactly.
And today's Earth Day.
Yeah.
We're recording on Earth Day.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Granted, we're inside. We should have just did an outdoor podcast in
Oh,
the
it's a
middle of
beautiful
nowhere.
day.
That would have been smart.
Yeah.
Wow,
We'll
we
get around to
should've.
that though.
Mhm.
We're doing one of those soon, actually.
Yeah.
There's a guy.
Honestly, every day is Earth Day, you guys.
Let's
Can I
go.
just for the record,
Yes.
every day is Earth Day.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. Earth deserves that credit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I saw a tweet today. Is Earth Day Earth's birthday? Because if so, that's wild.
Yeah, and this is it's the 50th Earth Day, so it's a young Earth.
The 50th?
Yeah, it's like the official 50th official Earth Day.
Day to celebrate Earth.
Earth,
Yeah.
See, that's
We've only
kinda-
done it for
Saw that
50
too.
years.
What? It's like who decided today out of all days?
Right.
I think that's ridiculous that we've only been spending 50 years appreciating Earth Day.
Right.
Yeah.
And just sucking the life
Especially
out of
right
it.
now. I mean, I think Earth is like, you guys.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you think
I'm here.
Yeah.
do you think
I'm
like, the
important.
whole- I'm very important. Please come play with me. But do you think like the corona stuff is hurting the Earth right now? Like, or helping it?
helping it.
Helping it.
But I think, I don't know. I think that the corona stuff is, I mean, there's a lot of conspiracies, but I believe it's like, it's kind of like a sign from the earth. I feel like it's a message from the earth. Like, I don't know, it's time to appreciate. And it makes sense because of what we're seeing happening with the earth now that this is happening to humans. I don't know, like Earth is starting to just flourish.
Yeah.
Like the canals in
Yeah.
was that Venice?
Yeah.
Just has life in it for the first time in like 150 years.
And all the pictures that you see of like the pollution from like landscape shots and stuff.
Yeah. From like outer space, it's noticeable that
I haven't seen those.
that there's not as much air pollution in like heavy like China and Mexico City, like where there's typically like massive gross pollution.
Yeah.
Struggling for the word. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. I didn't 6 weeks. 6 weeks, and that's how much impact we can make.
It's insane. And who knows how long this is actually going to go for, but I can only imagine, like, I don't know. I guess we'll just see how long people can last. I feel like people are like half the population, maybe even more, wants to follow the rules right now, but rules, I don't know. But how long is that really going to last?
Yeah, like how long can you keep me from like going in?
Especially when they're
partying
doing
with my
like
friends.
2 weeks at a time. Like, okay, 2 more weeks of staying inside. Okay, 2 more weeks of staying inside.
Right.
Eventually, people are just going to be like, okay, this is a joke.
Right. Well, and especially with like the serious severity of it kind of alleviating, like not as many people are in the hospitals. We're starting to
Right.
flatten the curve a little bit more, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, what we're doing is working, but then at the same time, it's like, oh, it's working, so let's just go back to normal.
Yeah.
Oh wait, well that's make it stop
Yeah.
working, probably, but to what extent we don't know.
Yeah.
How far can we push these boundaries?
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I guess working as like you, knowing that you work by yourself or work for yourself,
Yeah.
does the idea of like more people just working remotely now, like that kind of like hop on the bandwagon, right? Like
Yeah.
we've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, I guess. I just thought of literally my dad, who has been working for himself in his upstairs of his own house for like decades. And I'm like, I've always wondered, like, how do you do that? But he's probably just fine right now with the whole quarantine thing.
Right.
It hasn't nothing's changed for him.
Nothing at all has changed. Actually, he's been kind of avoiding even seeing me since I got back from my trip. But
I mean, it makes sense, right?
I know. I'm like, okay, I guess I was in like 4 airports in a matter of 2 days.
Right. So going back to like, when did you leave specifically for this trip?
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. That's awesome.
Well, I left Minnesota New Year's Eve, and I went to LA for New Year's Eve. I have a couple friends there, and that's where I was flying out of. So I just made a couple day trip in LA before I left. Because for me, this wasn't so much of like a vacation. I actually moved out the night before New Year's Eve. Like, I packed up all my things, and one of my friends helped me just bring it all to a spare bedroom. And I was planning on literally just leaving everything. I was like, I don't need to take anything with me. I just have my backpack. That's all I need. I didn't want to come back to my apartment. I knew I wanted to change there too. So for me, I was like, okay, going to LA for a couple days will be a nice kind of transition for me. Just to get out of Minnesota, but not necessarily completely out of my comfort zone yet. But yeah, and then I left.
So you closed the door on as many things as you could before
Pretty much,
leaving.
Yeah. I did.
Like, why to go that? Like, what was the reasoning behind going that extreme? I mean,
it is pretty extreme.
It
It was just all these things. I wanted all these things to change, and I started to just see them like. They all kept piling on top of each other. I was like, okay, I want to move out. I need to move out of this apartment. I need to change. I loved my studio, loved my neighborhood. I was right by Loring Park. But I knew I needed to change there. I knew I wanted kind of just like this self-discovery trip. I've always loved photography, but I kind of wanted to just try something different, or like a different approach with it, I guess. I just saw it all happening at the same time, and I was like, why not just go all out and check everything off the list. I mean, and it worked out because I can't imagine being in my apartment right now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't know when I was going to come back. So, I mean, I knew I had about 3 to 4 months set out because I had to be back for a wedding in May. But I didn't have a plan, so it was hard for me to plan. It didn't make sense for me to like keep things here in order. I kind of just wanted to put everything up in the air for the universe to just be like, let's just reconstruct your whole life.
Mm-hmm. Let's figure it out as it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dang.
And I kind of just wanted to give myself that opportunity, you know. I've never done it. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the healthiest way to go about it. If you really want to experience it like with the moment,
yeah.
you can't have the constraints from things
Yeah.
back here with
Mhm.
like paying rent or
Exactly.
like random electric bills or stuff like
Exactly.
that. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. So, what, like, probably for some people listening, they're like, wow, like a woman going on a trip by herself, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
Like, did
My
your
mom
were your
can-
parents like super scared for you, or I mean, was there any
Honestly,
concern on your end?
My mom has always known that I was coming.
Okay, nice.
She, I mean, I don't want to say she approved because I'd never really asked. I just was like, this is what I'm doing now. It's like, this
When
is...
you're in your 20s, like,
Right.
we're done asking. you
Right,
know?
exactly. But she was like, that's why I was saying, I don't know if she necessarily like, yeah, she didn't really approve, but she was like, I know that this is what you really want, so let me just help you. And that like, that meant so much to me because I thought I was going to get the whole like,
Cold shoulder.
right,
Mhm.
what the heck, why? Which was kind of my dad's response. But granted, I told my dad like a week before I left. So
Right, nothing you could do at that point.
yeah. But I told my mom after I booked the ticket too, because I was like, yeah,
I gotta go.
this
I'm
is
telling, not asking.
yeah. But yeah, that was the main thing that I kept thinking I had to prepare for. Like I was watching all these YouTube videos on female solo travel. And then once I knew I was going to Thailand, which was only a few weeks before I left, I was like female solo travel in Thailand, like trying to really just learn all these things just to make sure that I had some kind of knowledge of what I was getting myself into.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back, nothing that I watched really did anything for me.
Well, besides prepare you, maybe give you this false sense of comfortability or
Yeah,
confidence going
exactly.
into Thailand.
Yeah, right. Which, yeah.
And then by the time you got there, you're saying it just all fell to the wayside.
Well, because everything is like, you don't know until you just do it. Like, you really have no idea what you're getting yourself into until it's right in front of you. And, I mean, going back a little bit, I only had my first 3 nights booked in Bangkok. So I knew I was flying from LA to Bangkok, and I had a hostel for 3 nights, and then that was literally all that I knew. And I knew, I mean, in my head, I was like, I'm going to be here for at least a month. One of my friends was like, I think you'll be there for 1 month. I think you got this 1 month. It ended up being almost 3,
Dang.
which is what I was hoping for. So
Yeah.
I pushed myself, I guess. But yeah, I mean, even the fact that my first flight, I thought it was 6 hours, and half an hour into my flight, I'm sitting there and I'm like looking at the little thing of like,
The flight tracker.
yeah, and I was like, wait, and I'm in a middle seat, right? And like, side note, I've been battling my anxiety for so long, right? And especially sitting in a little like middle seat in an airplane going somewhere I've never been in my life. I was
with
like,
3 nights booked.
with 3 nights booked and no one that I know around me. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought this flight was 6 hours and it's actually 16 hours. So I was like, okay, I was not prepared for this.
You didn't know how long your flight was? That's awesome. Did you just like look at the time change
Yeah.
of like, oh yeah,
I
it's
just
a
did the math
12-hour difference,
like-
so yeah, it's 6.
Yeah, clearly I'm a beginner here. I like didn't even do the time zone difference. I was just like 6 hours.
Or even
okay.
just like a geography check might signal something different there too. Like, okay, it takes 6 hours to fly across the United States, and we're going up and over the globe?
You guys, I really,
Look,
yeah,
I'm
it sounds
sorry.
dumb. It sounds dumb. I know. Let me take a drink to that.
That's awesome. So you're sitting there in your seat. You're like, oh fuck, I only got 10 more hours than I thought
Yeah.
originally.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, like all my friends that know that I'm going to text them in 6 hours. Now they're not going to get a text from me in 6 hours and whatever. But
Did you sleep on the plane at least?
I suck at sleeping on planes.
Mm.
If I can get like a whole row to myself and just lay down, then I can fall asleep. But I can't. There's no way. Like,
You can't sleep sitting up.
no. And then especially when there's people next to you, it's like, how do
Yeah,
I like?
middle seats.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Dang. So 3 days in Bangkok.
That was the start.
That's crazy. So what was what were kind of like the feelings? What were the thoughts going through your head in those first couple of days, like with knowing that you didn't really have an agenda or what you a knowledge of what you wanted to do?
I was just so open. I was so open to like meeting people. And that was part of the reason why I only booked 3 days, because I wanted to just be open to what was going to happen next. And I hate having plans. I'm not good at plans.
That's good in this
Yeah.
situation.
Right. In
for
this
sure.
situation. Yeah. But I was just super open. I just remember kind of walking around like so naive, like, but also just really excited. I was just like the first couple of days of that high of like, I'm in a new place. Like, Bangkok is super vibrant. There's so many colors, so much going on. And I wanted to kind of just take in all of that. So, I just remember like even just the drive to my hostel with the guy in the car, but sitting on the other side of the car driving, and he doesn't speak English. And I'm just like, this is so cool that we can't even like communicate, but it's working.
Right. Just like through a smile, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't nervous at this point. I was like very just like happy to be there. I was like, yes, I made it. You know, I was just ready. But looking back, that was definitely like that was like almost like the honeymoon phase of my trip is how it felt. Yeah.
How'd you go about meeting people to begin with? Was it just kind of like talking with people in your hostel, or were you trying to meet people that lived in Bangkok and were indigenous?
I would have loved to meet people from there. But the first person that I met was actually my bunk buddy next to me. And we ended up his name's Brendan. He's from Australia. Hi, Brendan. We just did everything together for the next couple of days. Somehow we just clicked. So the first person that I met, I was like, yo, show me. You've been here for like 5 hours. I've only been here for a couple hours. And he was actually only there for the 3 days that I was there. So, or that I ended up being there, I guess. So I left the same day that he left. So it just completely worked out. But yeah, I met people just kind of along the way. Most people I met in hostels, I would say. Otherwise, I was that person that at restaurants, I would try to like become friends with the person sitting next to me, or like the server or someone at the counter. I would try so hard because I just wanted to be like, you're from here, let's be friends. Like, show me something that like someone from America like can't
access. Yeah.
Right. But that didn't really happen until, I don't know, later along my trip.
Sure.
The easiest way to meet people is through hostels.
Right.
Because everyone's on the same page, you know. Everyone's traveling for some reason from a different place and wants to experience new things. So
were there other solo travelers that were doing something similar that you were?
You know, looking back, I really feel like I was kind of an oddball because I met people that were there for a purpose. Like, I met a lot of yoga instructors or people who were going to like yoga teacher training, or they had plans, or they were like on holiday from their university and only had like a couple of weeks planned out. And then I also met people who were just completely like, I left home 3 years ago. I have no plans of going home. I'm just, I'm here for now. Maybe tomorrow I'll go somewhere else. And then there was me that was like kind of somewhere in the middle of like, I only have this long. But I also have no plans, and I'm not tied down to anything anywhere. So
yeah.
Yeah.
What was the next move?
Oh gosh. What was the next move? Pai. I went to Pai up north. Have you heard of it? Did you go there?
No.
Still in Thailand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pai Thai?
Yeah. I was in Thailand for 2 months. Two
Wow.
whole months.
And then India for a month, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so much to get into. I'm going to try to like condense it.
Just navigate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speak away.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're here to
so-
listen to
We're here to
engage.
listen and yeah, exactly.
We'll
Engage.
guide you.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So this is what's awesome. The week that I left Minnesota, I was in an Uber because at this point I also haven't had a car. When I left, didn't have a car for a year, so I also didn't have that holding me down anywhere. I really was just like me and my backpack. Anyways, I was in an Uber and the driver was like, oh, this is, as soon as we pulled up to my apartment, we were driving for like 20 minutes. And as soon as we pull up, he was like, oh, this is a cute apartment. I was like, yeah, I'm only here for a couple more days. Like, thanks, whatever. And he was like, oh, where are you headed? I told him I was going to Thailand. And he just went on to tell me how his daughter, who's around our age, went to Thailand and ended up staying for like so much longer than she anticipated because she loved this town called Pai so much. So I was like, okay, Pai, write it down.
Write it down.
He was like super hippie. It's like a super hippie town. It's like kind of a touristy place, but also just like super authentic and real and so much fun. Like you'll love it. I was like, okay. So
Would you say pretty heavily populated?
yeah.
Okay. Compared to the other, like compared to
well-
like villages and cities, because I know that there's a big variation between the two.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. This is not a city. It was definitely more of like a village.
Okay.
But it was super widespread. It reminded me so much of Minnesota summers, just like the vibe of, you know, going hiking or like maybe finding a waterfall somewhere. I found so many waterfalls there, and Pai is right in the mountains at the very top of Thailand. So that was, basically my plan. Once I decided Pai, I was like, okay, I'll start north and kind of work my way down because Thailand, there's the mainland and then there's islands all over too.
Yep.
So started north in Pai and ended up staying there for a couple weeks, and just from kind of talking with people and meeting people, and that's still probably top 2 favorite places.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's sick.
But there's nothing like it. Like most people go to Thailand to go to the beaches and the islands and to get
like
that
Krabi
whole,
and all that south area.
Right. But Pai is something that's more unheard of, I think. But yeah, I met so many awesome people. I ended up reconnecting with a girl from California that I met there. We later, like a month and a half later, met in another island, South Thailand.
Damn.
So it was kind of like, I don't know, it was just fun. Everything was word of mouth at that point. Like, hey, I'm going here tomorrow, or I'm going here this weekend. And I would decide whether or not I wanted to go with them, or they would just kind of spark the idea for the next place for me to go. But Pai was a new, that like showed me what Thailand kind of had to offer, I think. The food, the night market scene.
Oh yeah.
Thailand is known for night markets. Pretty much everywhere I went in Thailand, they all had like their special night market. So
Yeah.
which is really fun.
Did you go to the night market that has the train that goes through the middle of the
Yeah.
of the market?
I did. Where was that? That was in
It's
Bangkok.
it's a little bit outside of Bangkok.
Yeah, I did. Yep. That was one thing that we went to. It wasn't during the night though.
It was during the day. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
the
like-
train comes through during the day.
Yeah, that was one of those like package deal things that me and my friend bought, and we were like, yeah, that was one of the stops that we stopped at.
Yeah.
It was really cool
Very
because
cool.
you're literally like, there's like this, it's like only enough room for the train to get through, so you have this much space to like kind of be, like-
navigate. Yeah. It's kind of sketchy. Like it's on a railroad, this night market, around a bunch of buildings and stuff, and they just line up. Everybody just packs this railroad full of everything, like night market stuff,
Mhm.
which is, food,
Fake Yeezys.
fake Yeezys. I
Yeah.
got myself a pair of fake Yeezys. Not
I'm
to
kind of
brag.
upset that I didn't, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No regrets on my end.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite pair of shoes now. 100%. They're
But
so nice.
it's so cool because that's how majority of people like make their living there. Like you see people literally sitting and like cutting up fruit that they grew themselves. Like that is how, I don't know, that's how they're surviving. So it's cool that we can kind of, I don't know, go and see those things, but also
Right.
kind of, I don't know.
Understand that
Yeah.
you're helping them out, like
Mhm.
actually helping them out.
Yeah, right.
Even if you're buying a $30 fake pair of Yeezys and you're stoked that it's
Yeah.
like $30, well, 900 baht to them is a ton of money.
Exactly. Yeah, the difference is like crazy.
Yeah, it's super nuts.
The whole money thing.
The whole money thing's just insane. But it's funny too because now looking back at the night markets, and China has the same thing, and that's where they think that. And I know there's all kinds of coronavirus conspiracies of where it was transferred from bat to human, but they were talking about how like in these night markets, I mean, there's just animals and things going on everywhere. So the sanitation of these night markets always in question.
Thailand is like packed with stray cats and stray dogs.
Oh yeah,
There's like just as many cats and dogs as there are humans in that country.
it's crazy.
Just wandering around.
What was
Yeah.
kind of like your did you have like a routine, even though you didn't necessarily have like a set plan every day and you were kind of going with the flow? Did you ever have like a solid routine that kind of kept you grounded mentally?
Yeah. I think for me it was just nighttime. Like wherever I was sleeping, because I ended up, I think I counted like 22 or something different places that I slept in
Wow.
the 2 months. It was constant change throughout the day, and I was just going and going throughout the day. I was doing so much, just checking all these things off. But whenever I went to sleep, that was kind of like my time to be like, okay, wherever I am, this is where I am. I'm with myself right now. And that was like, I could like mentally kind of just like do, some breath work, or I would listen to the frequency sounds to go to sleep, or I would kind of, I really attempted to journal. That was my plan. I think that's everyone's plan not even just traveling, everyone wants to journal, but I was so bad at journaling, and I feel so bad because my friend got me this journal and I used it like 3 times.
Yeah.
I did a lot of voice recordings as
Sweet.
journaling.
No way.
Yeah.
I noticed you're big into voice recordings. You like sent me a voice recording today out of nowhere, and I was like, I haven't received one of these ever.
Yeah, it's like I always find an excuse for it, but really I think I just like doing it. I don't know.
You definitely just like doing it because what you said, you typed out a message to me and then responded shortly thereafter with the voice message, and the voice message was like, haha, so excited, or like
No,
something.
I know what it was. It was, I hope tequila doesn't make me sound crazy.
That's right.
Something like that.
And I said tequila's great for podcasting.
Yeah.
It almost always is. It's kill shot.
Yeah.
Right.
But I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Do I send one back now?
Right. I know it always leaves people stuck, but that's how some of my friends just talk, and especially now my friends that don't know how to read or write English, we only talk through voice because they can hear me and they can speak, but they don't know what I'm typing.
Sure.
So that's kind of cool too. But
That is really cool. Out of those 22 days that you slept in a new place, were those all beds? Or were there times when you weren't?
that doesn't include the times that I slept on the beach and in the overnight trains. So in total, it's probably like 30 different places.
Okay.
But
What's it like sleeping on the beach?
oh my gosh, yeah, me and my friend from California, when we reconnected on an island, we really wanted to go to the side of the island, and it was in Copenhagen. Have you heard of it? Copenhagen. Oh gosh, that was my number one place in
All right,
Thailand.
you heard it here,
All
folks.
Yeah.
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen.
Please explain.
Yeah. It's just a beautiful island. There's so much to it. That's also where the full moon party is. But
What's a full moon party?
oh gosh, that was like, I didn't know what it was before I left, but when I
All right,
got
so I'm not
there,
in the wrong for not
no,
knowing.
no.
Okay.
But that's like what majority of people go to. Like anyone that's going there for vacation or party, they like to go to this full moon party. It just doesn't make sense to me, but it is like a whole entire island thing where they shut down this huge beach, and it's just like a huge rager of
Community gathering.
yeah. Community gathering. That's exactly what it was.
It's a block party.
It's
Yeah.
it's a total block party.
I swear I was the only, because at this point I had stopped drinking. It was the only. I swear I was the only sober person on the entire island, like the entire
Wow.
section that I was
Minority.
at. Yeah,
Look at that.
yeah. It was a lot of pressure, but I did it.
Wait, so did you not drink on the whole trip, or what was like the?
No. Yeah, I'm now realizing that all these stories are gonna kind of like take us all over the timeline, but that's okay.
No. That's I like this.
Okay,
This
good.
is good.
Good. I decided to stop drinking a month. It was a whole month into my trip. I had lost. I shouldn't say lost. My fanny pack was stolen, with my my phone and my credit and my debit card and my ID. I didn't have my passport in there, thank God. But any form of money, I had cash saved somewhere else, so that was good too. But any way for me to take money out was gone. My phone was gone, and all of this happened because I was at this little party thing, and I was drinking that night, and me and some of my friends decided to go skinny dipping, and I left my things on the beach, and in the middle of the night, next thing you know, they're just gone. So yeah, so that kind of just redirected my mentality of like, okay, this is not what I'm here for, because this was a month into my trip, and I didn't go to party. I didn't go to kind of lose my mind and lose my things. My goal was to experience things and really just like dive deep within myself and challenge myself in different ways. And so this was kind of a challenge that I saw. I was like, you know what? Not so much like a consequence, but just like just a new challenge of like, let's just take a turn, and instead of like going the long route to this destination that you want so badly, life was like, we're just gonna take a shortcut and like take.
We're gonna
right
pivot.
there. Right. So that switched things up for me.
Dang.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's got to be. You mentioned earlier how you deal with anxiety. That's got to be a high anxiety moment when you kind of lose everything important from the sense of like monetary transaction, communication, like that's gone.
Yeah. Thankfully, I had my laptop, so I was able to communicate through, Facebook and through whatever I could on my laptop. But, yeah, needless to say, I spent the entire next day, like, literally hunting down my things. Like, because on Find My iPhone, I could see where the last location was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, and I was literally, like, I felt like I was on a mission. I was asking people, like, have you seen, or I didn't even go into it like that. I was like, how much for my fanny pack? I was like, how much to buy my things back? Like, I was just asking people that, and they'd be like, what? I was kind of like expecting a reaction from someone, because in my head, the last location, it was on this really small beach where one person lived, and I was like, it's got to be this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't. He ended up being like the sweetest person ever. And he was like, oh no, like he was the one that told me that locals will hang out in the woods and watch people go into the water at night. And he completely helped me through it. So then I was like, all right, that just failed. But at that point I just accepted that I was just going to have to move on, I guess. But
yeah, to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
How about what was it like what was my question? Oh, like not having a phone. How long did you not have a phone for?
So at this
Oh wait,
point,
actually my real question in addition to that one was fanny pack or crossbody?
fanny pack.
Okay. You know what a crossbody is, right?
Yeah, the one that like goes across like this.
Yeah. So you did not wear a crossbody.
No, I was like old school fanny pack.
Okay.
Like,
I went crossbody.
I don't know, I could be completely wrong, but I feel like men wear the crossbars.
Men wear crossbody. I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm getting shit on it because ever since
Yeah.
I came back.
But it's crucial for traveling, especially
So
when you have
crucial.
so many bags and like you don't want to put anything in your pocket, so you're just like
Yeah.
here, here's my phone, here's whatever, like
Exactly.
you don't have to hold anything. It's
Yeah, like we are the back pocket, but we pretty much always tell people never to put anything in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Especially when you travel.
100%.
100%. Just
Yeah,
pickpocketer,
I will
their
agree with
mecca.
that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's to show everybody else, we're for the people. We're not trying to just over promote our brand that's unsafe and gonna get your phone stolen.
Right.
Dude, we're for the people.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay. So what was it? How long did you not have your phone for?
I did not have a phone for about a week, I think.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, because I ended up buying one there. It was like a iPhone 6, probably not even a real Apple iPhone, but
the fake version of an iPhone.
honestly, it probably was, because it was
imagine.
terrible. And especially me, a photographer who's like trying to snap everything and capture everything and do all this stuff on my phone. It was just, I had to give myself that, like, okay, you know what? You deserve this. You deserve this time to just be away from your phone for a little bit. But I had to get a new phone, and I bought a little cheap one there that was temporary. But my best friend from here had plans to come visit me for a week over her birthday. So I took that as an opportunity to mail to her, because she lives in Colorado.
Oh, hell yeah.
My new, right?
I'm from Colorado. That's why.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love Colorado. Anyways, I sent her a new phone to bring me and the new debit card and all of that. So I was like, okay,
Wow.
I have 1 month, because I think it was a month or so before she was getting there. I was like, I have 1 month to, make the money that I have work and be with this shitty phone, and no form of, I guess I had my passport, but yeah, I don't know. Looking back, it was all fine. But in the moment, it definitely was like that anxiety of like, okay, damn. This is, I remember being like, I needed this experience. Of course, I feel like I don't want to wish this on anyone or manifest this for anybody, but I feel like you have to, anyone that's doing a long-term travel like that, I think has to experience some kind of downfall of like just redirection, I guess.
Some hardship.
Yeah, right.
Some strife.
I learned the most from that time, probably.
Exactly.
So
No, that's awesome.
yeah.
So this full moon party that you were sober at, you were the only sober person on the island, and I think, that's life's version, and the universe telling you like, hey, like this is worth the pivot,
Yeah, it was.
That's super cool.
Yeah, because the party, I mean, honestly, it just reminded me so much of like the college party after you're done partying in college, where you go and you're
where
just
you
like,
show back up.
you're just like, like this would be so fun if I was 20 again, but I mean, at this point I'm 25, almost 26, and I just was like, this is not what I'm here for, and that's where I just had to kind of, not judge anyone or feel like anything was right or wrong. I was just like, I'm just on a different journey. I'm on a different, my travel plans are different than yours, and that's fine. Like I'm fun sober, so I had a good time. I was there to support everyone else's rage.
There you go. Wait, so what made that island so fun? What was it called again? Copenhagen. What was so great about this island?
So that the full moon party is just like one side of the island.
Okay.
The other side is completely different. It felt like a whole new island. There's a beach called Zen Beach. It's once you're on this island, you will hear about this beach because it's just amazing. At night, it's kind of the whole, there's people drumming and everyone's just on the beach as the sun is setting, dancing, and I'm sure everyone's like high on something, but I don't know. It was just like such good vibes. Just really, everyone was just like loving each other and just like super like hippie feel, I guess. But there's people from all over the world that go and just hang out in this collective space, and that was where I think I met the most just like pure, genuine people who just, were there to just experience a new part of life and just like appreciate what Thailand had to offer versus like throwing trash on the beach and stuff.
Yeah.
You talked a lot about like being a part of a journey and like this is my own specific path. Let's not judge another person's path.
Right.
Was that like a common theme that you were playing around with, or like actually like practicing prior to this adventure or this experience?
Definitely 100%. I think I think that was, you know, kind of something that pushed me to even go on my trip, is realizing like, hey, this is my journey and it's completely different from someone who's comfortable working a 9 to 5, which completely works for some people, but for me it just doesn't. And I think as you begin to understand yourself more, you begin to accept yourself and accept other people who are staying true to themselves too, I guess.
Right.
Because you're almost like supporting their journey too.
Exactly. And it's like we like met, and it's so awesome that like our journeys cross paths, but it was exciting, I guess. I never even really had to tell myself not to judge, I don't think. I think that just comes naturally for me now, but it was just kind of that, like, I want to get to know you, even though you're here for a completely different reason and you're from a completely different part of the world. I just want to know about you, like what makes you you. I obviously met you for a reason. Like, what can I teach you? What can you teach me? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
I love that. And that's like the best thing about it, right? Like when you can practice that and actually put that into place, the fulfillment that like you get internally is just through the roof. Like there's no better reward than watching someone else like take their journey and like seeing them win or seeing them like do something enjoyable, and you're just along with it and maybe help that experience or just witness that experience, and then you get to do something dope yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a part, I mean, a huge part of my intention of traveling. I wanted to just meet people, and I knew I was going to meet people from all over the world. Thailand is a very popular place for people to travel. I met people from literally all over the world, and now I have friends from all over the world, and it's so cool to just be like, our paths crossed at one point. And you know, the number one lesson I learned in the first 3 days of my travel, when I had to say goodbye to my first friend and leave Bangkok, the first place that I was staying. I was like, okay, non-attachment. Like, I cannot be attached to anything on this trip. I can't be attached to you that I meet, because you might be gone tomorrow and we might only have a few hours together. I can't be attached to a place because I'm constantly moving. I can't be attached to literally anything while I'm doing this, because I have to be open to anything that's gonna flood in, you know? And if I'm attached to something, it's like I'm over here like closed, holding, instead of just like being open to letting it.
And it even came to the extent of being attached, like phone and wallet.
Yes.
Like that attachment left.
Guys,
you were detached.
It's insane that all this is just, it makes me laugh, because I'm just like, I thought I already learned this. I thought this like whole non-attachment thing, but whatever. I guess I had to learn a little harder.
Well, yeah, there's so many layers to it, and it's never easy.
Right.
Absolutely. I just think it's so cool how, like, when you do travel like this, there's this forced mindset of like, you have to be present because you just never know.
Yes.
And I always what I always did with anybody that I met on my trip in Thailand, because you're right, there are just a hodgepodge of people that you will meet. Especially, I can't even imagine 3 months. 2 weeks alone for me was nuts. But I always finished, like, if I was just on a boat with someone for 20 minutes and we hit it off and he adds me on Instagram or something, like the goodbye words were always like, see you soon.
That's my favorite thing to say. And even before I left, I was always, that's how I say goodbye to people. Just see you soon. Because goodbye is just so like, that's just sad. But
it's got like a negative connotation to it.
Even if I don't ever see you again, like, I'll see you, like, I obviously saw you once. Maybe I'll see you in another life. Whatever. I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Dude, I was just drinking this whole thing with the plastic cap in the drink.
Bummer, dude.
Had no
Such
idea.
a bummer, dude. Anyways, I'm sorry. I totally derailed it. But I do think that there is, like, something to be said about that active, like, just kind of present mindfulness.
100%.
We just don't do it enough.
And that's I mean, that was another huge lesson for me, is just presence, and not and I mean, being present, meaning like not holding on to the past, anything from the past, and also not holding on to anything that might happen in the future, like not holding on to the idea of something happening. That was huge for me. And I think that lesson really came when I on Copenhagen, this island that I was on for a few weeks. I spent most of my time in Thailand. I spent there. I came across this like walking meditation thing, and I signed up for it. It was this free walking meditation, and a lot of people will go there to do meditation retreats that are like 5 days, a week, whatever, where you like go to a specific place and just meditate all day long. But this one was like 4 hours a day. We just walk. You just like basically pace back and forth, like the distance from here to there, and you're just pacing back and forth.
About 10 yards.
With people next to you for 4 hours a day straight barefoot, no phones, like just underneath this like beautiful shala in the middle of the jungle, like with no idea of time besides all of us like later we would talk and be like, did you see the sun start to go down? Like that was like how we tried to like calculate what time it was.
Whoa.
Which sounds crazy because it's only 4 hours of the day, but 4 hours that's 4 hours that nobody ever gives themselves to just like be present, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that was the whole thing. This monk was like, everyone like is so busy all the time. They just want to find peace, and they just want peace and quiet and to be present and just be by themselves. But once we're given the opportunity to be present with ourselves, just by ourselves, it's nearly impossible to just be that and just do that. Like people were like taking breaks. People were like, my feet hurt. Like there were so many things that were just like coming out during this practice, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But actually that week I was gifted the book, The Power of Now, which is all about the present moment. And that book completely, like, I would recommend that book to absolutely anyone that's ready to just, embark on the present moment journey, because it was so good.
I need that book.
Oh my gosh, I should have brought it. I could have gifted it to you.
Oh, frick. We'll gift you a book. Are you reading any books right now?
Yeah, I'm reading the next one.
Oh.
Or it's not like a sequel, but it's his next book called A New Earth. So.
Okay.
That one's all, it's kind of cool to read right now, Earth Day and everything, but,
Yeah.
and everything that's happening, but, that one's just about like the ego and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So are you actively now practicing this like mindfulness of being in the present?
Yes. I really feel like I hit such a beautiful space when I was there. I was like at this peak of like, and it didn't happen right away, but it just like clicked one day. Like, I'm so good just being here in the present moment. Like I've always
hit like that moment of comfort.
I was just like, I understand it now. You just get it, and once you know, you can't unknow. So,
Good point.
Yeah. So I think now, still knowing, it's just a matter of applying it to like this side of reality for me.
Mm-hmm.
I like really had to cope with like, I felt like that was my reality, being there for 3 months. And after 2 months in Thailand, I spent a month in India, being on that side of the world for 3 months and just having a crazy journey every single day. It felt like so much longer than 3 months. And I feel like I've created a reality there. So now that I'm back here, it's kind of, I came back and I was like, this isn't my reality. And I was kind of fighting it, but it obviously is. And, I think it's just a matter of like, just practicing that mindfulness and that internal, growth, just applying it to everything that's like in my external world on this side of the world,
Right. No, I love that like the word fighting in that sense, because a lot of times you do want to fight to get back to somewhere that you were, right?
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with like post-travel depression, or like just wishing you were somewhere that you weren't, wishing you were back, on those islands or in Krabi or wherever.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really cool because like the reality aspect is, it's always going to be what's right in front of you.
Exactly.
But also the reality is rooted in the past so much that you can implement it in what you're doing now.
Right.
And
like you are right here because of everything that has ever happened,
Exactly.
So like all of that does matter, but yeah, it's like accepting.
Exactly. And I think the coolest part is when you're the only person that that's gone on this journey to this point.
Right.
You know, it's unique to you.
Mm-hmm.
And through those experiences, like now I feel like, and when I'm listening to the story, I'm like, you have a leg up now
Mm-hmm.
because you consciously took the risk to jump and do something like
It's
that.
things that I will never be able to teach anyone. It's something that you just have to experience on your own. I can definitely guide, like I would love to take my friends to somewhere in Thailand that I loved, or India, whatever, but it's all things that I could never learn again either, you know. It's like they were whole just brand new experiences that like I don't know, you only go through that one time, and now that you've gone through it, it's like, okay, like,
well, now you want to share it with people.
Yeah.
You want other people to go through those similar things.
And that's what, you know, I was telling throughout my trip, I was telling so many of my friends and obviously people on Instagram and whatever, like I would love for everyone to experience these things. But I also know how unique a lot of the steps that I took were, that, you know, I couldn't, there's a lot of people that I know, I don't want to say wouldn't be able to handle it, but just would never do it because it just doesn't work with like their nature. And, you know, even just as far as like the whole planning thing, I know a lot of people that love to plan and have a plan. And I was just like, literally the next hour, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Well, and that's funny because, you know, someone who was listening may have turned it off this podcast because they're like, oh, well, I wanted to learn about Thailand, but I wanted to learn how to plan a trip to Thailand, you know?
Right. I could also share some of those things.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just kidding, but it is just funny, like, it's just also like rooted in your own personal experience, but how much you want to share that, and like how it could be duplicated. And it is hard from the travel aspect, right? Because it's like you slept in 30 different spots.
Yeah.
You were in 2 different countries. You were all over the place doing different things every day, and there's a story for each one of those. But like, what would be one that you would tell that would, like, if you had a friend that was like on the fence about going, and you really freaking cared about them, and you're like, all right,
this is why you should go.
This is why you should go.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I can even come up with a specific story, but I mean, maybe I could go back to the whole sleeping on the beach thing. That was like something that you could never do here, which is probably what I would tell someone. Think about all the things that you can do there that you would never have the opportunity of doing here. Like, yes, you can sleep on the beach here. Like, I know there's, especially in Hawaii, beach bumming is a thing, but like there's so many things that are just not accessible here, or like almost accepted. Just that, like, just having that, you know, that free schedule and that free mind to just kind of go with the flow, that people are not open to that in America, to be honest. Once you go over there, you realize like how uptight everything is here. Like, at this time on this day, this is exactly what's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, it's a problem. Whereas there, it's just like they throw you on a bus and they're like, hope you just like hope that you get there in a matter of 4 hours, but it might take 10. You never know.
Yeah. The place I saw that most evident was in the service industry. Like in Thailand, if you go out to eat lunch, you know, the server will come up the first time, ask what you want to drink, and then they just like won't come back for like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And as an American who's like, you know,
Yeah.
been to an Applebee's a few times, like you know the rigmarole of like how this should be going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like one of the first things I knew, or I kind of picked up on. And then even further, I met a guy who in Bangkok who runs he's an American guy from Minnesota.
Wow.
Didn't go to college, just got into real estate right away, and then somehow made his way to Bangkok, and now he's a real estate agent in Bangkok and runs a
I met like one person from Minnesota on my entire trip.
Really?
Most people were like, I had to pull up the United States to be like, this is where Minnesota is.
Yeah. How about telling them like, yeah, I live in a place where it snows and it gets below zero, about -20.
Yeah.
And they're like, and you're all sitting here like 60 degrees, never seen snow.
Yeah.
So interesting to be able to describe to someone who's never seen that.
Whereas like I was there for 3 months and didn't even see a drop of rain the entire time. It's like insane.
Oh, it's nuts. But anyways, like this guy was trying to, his biggest pain point was hiring local Thai people and teaching them how to properly serve someone when they come to eat, because this is just not part of their culture to have to think in this fashion, you know, like, okay, gave them their drinks, I should be on the lookout for when they put their menus down so I can go ask them what they want to eat, you know, this, that, and the other. Like, no one ever, that's not even thought about out there. So he's like trying to overcome like a cultural gap from that sense.
That's really cool, because there is a huge difference. It's huge. And even just like the reaction that I would get from people when I would tell them, you know, when I would say I'm from the United States, most people would be like, where? And then I would say the United States of America, and they'd say, oh, America, like you're an American. And then they'd be like, wow, because over here we're just so like, yeah, our country is a little bit crazy right now. I mean, always has been, but we're really privileged over here, especially just to know English as a first language. Like, I would meet people out there that, you know, they would be like, what? You don't know another language? Like, who are you? Like, everyone knows how to speak English there, almost everyone. Because they're like, everyone from that side of the world is like, they grow up learning that they have to know English because that's just the universal language. And we're just so lucky to even just have that, like, naturally, you know?
Yeah, we take it for granted. And the other thing, too, like, that part of the country, especially Southeast Asia and Thailand specifically, like, that culture looks up to Westerners like America like crazy. They think we are the coolest people
literally
ever.
Royalty. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, that was one reason why I enjoyed my couple weeks in India. I don't want to say so much more, but I just loved India so much more for that reason, because I felt like Thailand was so geared towards Westerners. Like, it was so like, this is what we're going to do for you as a tourist. Like, we have this whole thing set up for you. Like, I felt like the whole country was just set up for people to come and tour. And I feel like it was missing a lot of the, like, authentic piece of this is who we really are, I guess.
Well, you just got to find it, right? It's there somewhere, but the first things you will most likely see are the things that are tailored.
Yeah, and after 2 months of being there, it was like,
okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
But India wasn't like that, is what you're saying?
No.
There's so many bloody people there.
Yeah,
it's too hard to be a tourist country.
They're an economy. They got their own thing going on.
Yeah, and I was only in one little section of India, a province called Goa, and that's somewhere, if anyone's ever looking into going to India for the first time, I would highly recommend Goa. Because again, it's super easy to access and kind of get your way around.
Geography-wise, where does it fall inside India? Like
southwest.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd definitely be curious in the northwest.
Yeah.
Near, like, the Himalayan mountains.
That's where... And that's
nice, good geography, Andrew.
Yes, that was my plan. I really wanted to go there. But this whole COVID. Corona thing.
Right. Things put a damper on it.
Yeah.
But you really enjoyed your time down in the southwest portion.
I will be going back to India 100%.
Let's go.
I mean, as long as the world allows, I want to go back this winter. Yeah, I got a 12-month visa for there, so I'm kind of just hoping that they open the airports back up. But
so you're gonna go back like pretty soon.
This winter, I really want to go back. Yeah.
Dang, let's
jumping
go.
on it. Use your visa.
I'm like, oh, I wish I could go back. I did not want to leave India. I loved it so much. It was just like, and that was another thing. I didn't plan on going to India until a day before I had to leave Thailand because of the whole 30-day visa thing in Thailand.
Right.
You're allowed to renew it one time. So that's how I ended up staying there for 2 months.
Gotcha.
So I was able to go in the week that I lost my phone. I was like, okay, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to try to go to a different country right now. I'm just going to stay where I'm at, chill out. I went and renewed my visa, so I was able to extend it for another 30 days. But then...
is that process pretty straightforward? You just go to the UN
Don't you just literally leave the country and then come back in?
You can do that, yeah.
Yeah.
That they have like all over Thailand. There's like signs that say visa run. Like people plan out to do visa runs to like just hop to another country and come back.
Yeah, because what is it? Is Laos the one in northern?
Yeah. Yep. And then there's like Vietnam and Malaysia that's south. And yeah.
It's super funny that Steve was telling me that when he was over there for a whole year, him and his buddies would go on a bike riding trip and just go into Laos through like the mountains.
Yes.
And then they would check back in, like, and they would do that like once a month just to constantly refresh.
I literally met a guy who has been traveling on his bicycle for 4 years.
Motorized or
no,
not
pedal,
motorized.
a pedal bike. He's been traveling on his pedal bike for 4 years, starting in Spain. He's from Spain, and the past 4 this is his last year, and he's like, I'm hoping to end and make it back home, or he's ending in New Zealand.
Oh my gosh.
But he's been traveling like all over, like from country to country, just biking through borders, like, whereas we're like, how is that even possible here? But I guess someone could pedal bike from California to New York if they really wanted to. Right.
No, they definitely could. I'm not stopping them. Yeah. We've had a couple of people on this podcast now actually who've biked around like the perimeter of the United States, or
I would love to meet them. That's so cool.
Yeah, the Brochat brothers, they're crazy guys. We know one of the
Brochat brothers just got married.
Just got engaged, dude. Engaged.
God, I always blow that up.
Dude, so funny. So this guy, they're these twins. They're from like Woodbury or something. 27, 28. One's named Hiker Brochat, and the other one's named Biker Brochat. Biker Brochat biked around the entire country.
Wait, that's their real names?
No.
Their last names are the Brochats.
The Brochats, and they're identical twins.
I was like, Hiker and Biker?
Those are their Instagram names.
That's amazing. I was like, that's actually pretty cool.
It would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. But they hiked the Pacific Crest Trail together around this time last year. One of them had just gotten back from this bike trip and came back home and was like, I'm a new man. This is the coolest thing ever. Like, I heard about this PCT. We got to do this now. And then his brother was like, I missed out on the first time, so I'm definitely coming with you on this.
So cool if they have each other too.
Yeah, like absolutely.
This guy literally, he lost his phone too. I was like, how do you know where you're going? And he pulled out his necklace with a compass on it. I was like, I just go south. Like, what a life. Whereas here we're like, when do I turn? Tell me when I turn as you're driving, like trying to figure out where you're going.
And we try not to do that. Andrew and I try and navigate Minneapolis. Like, we don't know how to drive. We have a decent idea now that we've been here for 2 years, but
we still kind of suck at it.
We still suck at it. Like, whenever we're in the car together,
we got a business meeting,
and we gotta go somewhere.
Like, no phones. Let's try to figure this out.
Yeah, it's so fun.
and I'm driving, and I always take a wrong turn.
Yeah.
That reminds me of being in Copenhagen and being with one of my girlfriends because most people there don't have service on their phones. I bought a SIM card, which, just to note, it's like $11 a month, I think, to buy a SIM card. So it's really inexpensive, but it just kind of depends if you want to just use Wi-Fi or have full access, whatever. But we would try on our scooters, like our little motorbikes, which is how you get around everywhere in Thailand.
Yeah. The scooters were great.
Yeah.
That was like one of my favorite things.
The best. Scooters. I wish that we did that here. I'm like, I don't even want to buy a new car. I just want a scooter.
I just want to burn in the open roads on a moped. Like, I realized there's a ton of value in that.
It's huge, yeah. We ended up renting a scooter together, and I was sitting on the back of the scooter, and our plan was to travel around the whole island, and this is how we ended up sleeping on the beaches. I had a map behind her, just like, okay, I think we're gonna go this way. We challenged ourselves to not use our phones for a while, so that was really fun. But that's how we ended up kind of going from beach to beach, and we ended up sleeping on a different side of the island every night, and I think it was like five or 6 nights or something that we ended up.
Did you get your 8 hours?
No, probably not.
Was it like a comfy sleep? Like it was doable if you did it multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I mean, even now I love sleeping on the floor. I mean, it was fun because we slept right on the beach, so it's like we would wake up to the waves. I mean, it's kind of it's kind of it might sound nasty to some people, but like our showers were the ocean. Like we just kind of went full on, like we left our big backpacks with the scooter rental place and just had a little bag with like our swimsuits and maybe 1 or 2 shirts and shorts, and she had her same dress that she wore the entire week, and we ended up calling it her soggy dress, and
No way.
that's how we survived.
That's gnarly.
I don't know, it was really awesome. We'd wake up to the ocean every day.
The natural oils.
And that all happened because we were looking for a place to stay on this island, and for whatever reason on this night there was absolutely nothing for us. And you know, we walked around for like 2 hours, and we were like, you know, instead of feeling defeated, why don't we just make the choice to sleep on the beach? Instead of feeling like we're being kicked out and we have to sleep on the beach tonight, let's just make a thing out of it.
Let's just do it.
Yeah. Let's just do it.
Let's just do it. I love that.
We woke up after the first night, and there was a little note next to us that was like, if you need a cold shower, or if like you need like cold water or like a warm shower or whatever, please come to this bungalow. Like someone was genuinely concerned for us, but we only wanted to do it that one night, and then we ended up doing it for like 5 or 6 nights. So
you're like, this isn't that bad of a gig.
I know, it was awesome. And the only reason why we stopped was because she was leaving the island. I would have just kept going, honestly. Like,
dang.
Beach bumming it's an experience.
It's kind of a real thing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Someone was like, saw you in need, and they were just like, I need to help this person out, because that's like all of Thailand. They did, like we were saying earlier, they look up to us so much, and it's kind of messed up because like in their culture, like a super pale Thai person is thought of as like the very high regard.
Yep.
So like the more pale you are, the more money you probably have, because you're not spending as much time outside working.
Yep.
So I mean the beauty product lines in Thailand are like skin bleach.
It's all whitening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything. That was one thing that I took from the YouTube videos before I left. Like, don't buy any of their like beauty products there, because they all are like whitening which is bleach. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're like super tan in Thailand, that just tells everyone that you work outside every day, and that, you know, you're lower class. And because they see Americans as fat and white, and like they look up to that type of person. It's like a tan American coming in, like we value, right? Like, we all want to be tan, and we all want to be super fit.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Thailand or Thai people look at us the complete opposite of like holding it in high regard.
Yeah.
Right.
So like the people we were working with in these villages, I mean, I would not be wearing a shirt most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, and shorts and just going at it. And all these other guys were wearing bucket hats, mask, long sleeve, and pants. Like, and I was so confused. And then they finally told me, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. They don't want to get a tan because they work outside every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even really encounter that like actually happening. So that's really cool.
Yeah. It was nuts.
Yeah, like when I stepped into India the first day, I can't even count how many people would run up to me asking to take pictures with me.
Oh yeah.
Like,
that's like that was kind of the funnest part, to be honest.
I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it for a little bit, just because I was experiencing a new high being in a new country. I was like ready to get off Thailand at this time, and I was like, yes, India. And so I'm wandering around, and everyone's like, like looking, and like that's just going back to that, they literally think you're like royalty.
Beyonce.
Yeah. And every time someone would ask to take a picture with me, I would ask to take one on my phone too, because I wanted to just have record of it. Like, here we are. So I have all these selfies of me with like 10 teenage boys. Like, hey.
That's awesome. Way. That's so cool.
I'll post one of these days. But
dude, that's awesome.
Follow me on IG.
It was so funny. There was one night at a night market in Thailand, in Chiang Rai, and it was like their big Sunday night market where they have like dance parties and stuff with the community. Yep. Oh, so and there's these videos of like me and my buddy like just dancing in the middle of like, because they're all like dancing around in circles, and we just didn't know what they were doing, so we just hopped in the middle and just started doing our own thing. And
amazing.
20, we do this for 10, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden we just have flocks of people like live streaming or FaceTiming. And they're like, look at this guy. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, and I'm loving it, dude, because we're getting great feedback from the crowd.
Well, also
So
it's like
fun.
that's the other part of traveling anywhere, but especially on the other side of the world. It's like I'm never going to see these people again. So like, why not just go all out, express yourself, be yourself, do some crazy shit. And like,
oh yeah. I was giving nugs to, what was probably a pregnant woman on the other side of the FaceTime. Like, it was sweet. I was very excited. It was so fun. They're like, can we take a picture? I'm like, hell yeah, gather around. It's like, I'm not going to handle, if I ever get famous, I'll never handle it well. No way.
No way.
I can't take it for granted.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know what it's like to be famous, go anywhere in Southeast Asia.
Yeah,
honestly.
true.
That's sweet. Okay, where were we? Like, the timeline I feel like is just irrelevant.
Yeah.
So your ultimate story to convince someone was like beach bumming.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because it's new, it's just a new experience, and like, I don't know, you just experience things there that you'll never get a chance to experience here. Like, obviously we have a very diverse country, but it's nothing like just stepping into someone else's world where they just do things completely different. And that, I mean, I was debating going to Europe for a while, and I know that there's obviously a lot of differences there too. I've never been there, but what I got from other people is that I'll get much more of a culture shock if I go to Thailand or somewhere in that area. So yeah, just like throw yourself out there. I don't know.
I like that.
That's
No,
pretty
that's
much
awesome.
Yeah.
And you spent 60 days in Thailand and then about 20-ish days in India.
Yes. Yep.
And
Sadly.
towards the end, you kind of were forced to come back.
Yeah.
Throughout those 80-ish days, was there a point where you're like, I'm not going back? Like, I don't see like why I should go back. I can continue to find these new experiences so rewarding that there's really no point of finding my May photography event that important anymore.
I'll be honest, throughout my trip, I think I experienced
Just found more plastic in my drink. I'm so sorry.
I don't know how that even happens.
You're a knucklehead.
Sorry, continue. Onward.
I was actually experiencing a lot of the opposite, which I know was just kind of, test of, this whole journey that I was talking about. I feel like I was just kind of being tested of like how bad you really want this. But there was probably a solid month where I was really struggling with the idea of being all the way over there. And it would all hit me when I would see myself on the map and be like, oh my gosh, like all my friends are like, my family is on this. I can't just drive to, my mom's house. I can't just like hop in a boat and go home. Like it takes days to get home. And I think I was just kind of really battling that whole, like, I physically felt like I was in a whole new place. And it was just that the new feelings of like, this is something I've never experienced before. I don't know if I don't know if I really need to experience this. Like, I was really questioning these things, and there was a solid period of time where I was telling my friends, like, every other day it was like, I really am considering just coming home early. Like, I think I've learned everything that I needed to learn, whatever. But looking back now, I'm like, what? Because towards the end of my trip, I started to hit what you said. Like, why would I go home? Like, why would I go home? That's not even home, that, like, I was really genuinely like, this is where I belong. I'm like, I feel so much like myself here. Like, why would I put myself back in this place that's just so complicated and complex? And I don't know. So it was definitely a whole journey of like up and down and really like, I don't know.
Battling with it?
Battling, yeah.
That's interesting, because I always think about that in terms of like, what is home?
Well, I mean, from the standpoint of us going on vacation for like a week or two, and like I get on edge of like, I need to go back to my routine.
Yep.
And
after just a week.
I need to get back into my routine, and I need to start working again, because me moving through this vacation or this time frame where I'm actually like I don't have a schedule. I'm not doing what
Mhm.
outside pressures are structuring me to do. It's my time.
Exactly.
When I am in that for too long, it feels like I'm not doing enough.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, oh shit, I need to get back into what they tell me I should be doing
Exactly.
because that feels like enough.
Right.
And that's fucked.
It's so fucked. And those were the times when I would honestly get off of social media for a while, because that was the main thing. That was because I would just see people here and I would be like, first of all, I'd be like, oh, my friends are just so rare and amazing. Like, I need to get back to my friends. But
Mm-hmm.
also, like, just pressures from, society here, and like, how are you taking this much time off, kind of that whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I was just really I think I was just adding a lot of pressure to myself to really experience all these things, and that's why I was kind of like battling with that whole idea of like, okay, I've learned enough, like I've been through enough, I lost all my things, like this is what I needed, I'm good to go. But it is just going back to that present moment of like, realistically, I know that I'm leaving in probably a month from now, whatever it was. Like, why not just be present and like completely allow yourself this time, and like stop worrying about what you maybe left behind, and just embrace it, because this is, I mean, I'm learning more and doing more work, I feel like, with this experience than I am being here working,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're working on yourself,
Mhm.
and those things that you're learning and actively participating
Yeah.
in are those are lifelong things. You're gonna
Yeah.
remember those 3 months when you're 50.
And there were so many things that I felt like I just had my friends with me during the times, and
Yeah.
like, just like, there was so many times when my friends would be like, I just love everything that you're experiencing, and I'd be like, I really feel like I'm experiencing this with you guys. Like, I like, that's a huge reason why I love photography, and why I love just sharing things, and why I am kind of active with all of that on Instagram, because I want it's not to be like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've done, this is like what I get to experience and you don't. It's like, I want you all to experience this and to see like how much more there is to life than what we are taught our entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was
that's
gonna
good.
and I was gonna ask the question of like, and this kind of falls right in line with it. Going on a trip by yourself versus
Mhm.
going on with a partner.
Yes.
Like, would you have find like more reward if there was like a companion along the way to like have these memories with that person? So then like when you come back, or even like in the moment, like it's easier to handle situations? Or do you feel like and this is like not like saying what
Yeah.
you did was anything, like I'm
Right.
not trying to downplay
No,
it.
yeah, for sure.
Looking back on it now, do you see the value of the both of them?
I 100% do. And
Mhm.
I think, that's a huge reason why it took me this long to actually travel. Like I said, I've been wanting this for so long. I've always loved traveling. I've always wanted to do a solo trip, but I really wanted to go out of the country with, a boyfriend or a husband or whoever, I always imagined going with a partner. And I think I honestly remember saying to my friends, like, yeah, I'm not, I would love to go to Europe, but I just see myself like doing that with my significant other one day, but it's like, I kept saying that one day thing, but here I am, single as can be, and like free as a bird with being my own boss. Like, why wouldn't I take the opportunity to go and do it now? And absolutely, it would not have been, this trip would not have been the same if I was with someone. Would I someday love that? 100%, because I see myself, making this whole travel thing a lifestyle. But there were times when I would meet people there and I would be with them for too long meaning like 3 days, and I'd be like, I need, I'm gonna go to this city or this island just because I wanted that alone time. Like, I found myself, like, although I was alone, I was solo traveling, I always was making friends and being with people, and I was actually kind of still like searching for that alone time, because I knew how significant that time would be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting too, because like after spending like a longer duration in a Thailand, I also had read the book 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Have you read that?
No.
You should read that. He spent a good amount of time living in Thailand with
Wow.
and making American money through his online
Yeah.
brand.
Which is like a huge dream
Right.
because
That is the dream.
to be able to because the American dollar there is just like
30 times the amount of what Thai is.
yeah.
And
I
the
spent
baht.
more on my flight home. Like, granted, I had all this stuff going on, so I ended up having to spend a lot more money. But I
Right.
spent more on my flight home than I did the entire 3 months just traveling.
Mm-hmm.
I literally spent more on my ticket home. Like that goes
That's
to show
crazy.
like how far your US dollar can go on
Yeah.
that side. Of
Well,
the
and,
world.
and that's like kind of what I started thinking too, was like when I brought up the question of like, what is home? Like I left
Mhm.
I'm the oldest of 5 in my family. And I'm from Denver originally.
Mm.
And I got a brother in Portland. I got a sister at Cornell. I got 2 younger sisters who are going to be going to college eventually.
Mhm.
And like I look at Colorado as my home, and I look at Minnesota. I've been here for the last 6 years after going to St. Thomas and then hanging out here. Like I look at
Mhm.
Minnesota as a pretty fun like place to hang around. But then now I went to like Thailand, and I'm like, man,
People live there.
people live there.
Yeah,
And I'm
you will come
like,
across people that live there for
Yeah.
months and months. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just started thinking, I'm like, man, it'd be really cool if I could just, like, one day, set the goal to take Backpocket full time, whenever that may be, but understand that the dream would
gosh.
be to, like, have this awesome platform
Mhm.
that kind of documents Andrew and I's path and journey
Mhm.
towards inspiration and inspiring others. But, like, dude, we could do that anywhere.
I was just gonna say, I completely see that for you guys. Like
Hey,
100%.
thanks.
Really think it's possible. And that, before I left, I kept trying to come up with like, how can I make this like a passion project? Like what can I be asking people?
Mhm.
Not that I don't have my own podcast or anything like that, but just kind of on that documenting and like sharing piece with being a photographer. Like I wanted to come up with like, how do I really get to know someone and share their story? And it would be so cool to, have, to be able to just go full throttle with it and like be on the other side of the world talking to, especially in Thailand where you meet people from everywhere.
Right.
You guys could absolutely do that. That'd be so
Right.
awesome.
No, and that's why I had that like kind of aha moment, because like the
You-
way this podcast. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say even just a couple weeks. You guys should just go and do
Right.
it for like a couple weeks.
Oh yeah, just to test the waters,
Yeah.
to see what happens.
Mhm.
I like the idea of just like buying the one way though, and just like seeing where
Yeah.
we can
I
go.
love that. And booking 3 nights.
The 3-night rule, the Alex
Yeah.
Fenner method.
Yeah, you guys should.
Bulletproof.
Yeah.
We'll officially trademark that.
The other thing we've trademarked is the average quality. And this is
Yeah.
something we do well at times and other times not
gosh.
so well. You're looking at 2 wildly average guys
Mhm.
Who are gonna be going to Thailand to just like talk to people, probably.
Yeah.
in an ordinary fashion to make their story extraordinary.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask you, Alex, what is your average quality? And this is something you do well at times and other times not so well. At the end of the day, it's your average quality.
2 things I think. As far as like, my passion photography, I think I like videography would be something that's like more of like the physical sense, but I just am not good at videos, but with that whole like storytelling mentality, I would love to be able to take documenting things to that level.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise I was really thinking, execution. I know that sounds crazy because I just went and just did all these things, but I have such a hard time with, having all of these ideas and all of these things that I want to do and not ever actually just, executing and making them happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that I don't know where I'm trying to figure out where that stems from, but, or like how to tackle that, I guess, but execution.
So why do you say execution though?
Because I just don't feel like I just don't ever accomplish things, or I do, but
What do you mean you don't accomplish things? Like, what have you not accomplished that you're like, dang, I should
There-
execute it.
You guys don't even know.
Well,
Right,
that's
we
why
don't
we're
know.
asking.
Exactly.
Everything that goes on in this brain, I'm like, I have all these things that I want to be doing. Even on my trip, I did not take nearly as many pictures as I would have liked to.
I think you did a pretty good job.
I didn't. I know, but with my actual camera and like trying to be more like businessy, and maybe this is like the whole business society thing coming at me where I feel like I'm not doing enough.
Right.
But, you know, I don't know. There's just so many like I have this creative brain, so it's like constantly going, and I have all these things that I would love to just do and complete, but I get too wrapped up in just thinking about doing everything that I don't ever actually do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I can totally relate to that on a sense where I'll be like, I create this like content to-do list on my
Yeah.
computer,
Right.
and I'm like, oh my God, I need to do this video. I need to make this TikTok. I need to make this, and like, and all of it's to obviously share and post, but like, you only have so much time, and like, B, what's really important, you know?
Exactly.
And,
yeah. I have the same issue with my own.
and there's also like a certain aspect of it of like, if you really need to push something out, like I try and post on LinkedIn every single day. Sometimes I'll create a video and spend a ton of time on it and then post it, or I'll put that to the wayside and be like, oh crap, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, like I need to have something, and then I just kind of put out whatever's on my mind, and then boom, it hits fire, and now I'm back to where I was.
I find it so much easier to just to do things instead of thinking about doing things. To,
Right.
Like just post the picture. Like stop spending 25 minutes trying to figure out what you're gonna write as a caption. Like just freaking post the picture.
Just go for
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if for anyone does not know Alex and you've made it this far in the podcast, definitely go follow her, Alex
Just
J.
ramble.
Fenner. And definitely, like, I really do, when I text you, like, I've been reading a lot of your content, like, I do love reading those posts. Like, you have a lot of good things to say.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I'm glad that those things are now being shared on a podcast where you can just talk for hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
I wish we
phenomenal.
had more time. There's so many stories. But
No, we have plenty. We have unlimited time.
Unlimited time.
Don't worry.
Right. Well, on the execution aspect, like I applaud you for saying that, because like we have no idea what you're thinking. And when you say that, we're not looking at it in a negative way by any means.
Right.
We look at the average quality as something that like you care about deeply.
Yeah.
Like this is something that you
Yeah.
have a tremendous passion for, and you just don't see yourself as good as you want it to be. And that is fucking fine.
Yeah.
Like that is like the best part, right? Like
It is, yeah.
you don't the best part about your average quality is you're just striving to be just a little bit better the next day to make yourself a little less average, if you will. And
Exactly,
it doesn't matter if you as long as you're not looking at yourself like your execution negatively. There is so many benefits to like looking at it with the humility of an average quality.
And I love that you guys even ask that, because I feel like the first step is just acknowledging what it is that you might be average at or like could be better at. I think it's honestly the first step is just knowing that that's there, and just seeing it and acknowledging it, like, and accepting it, like, this is something I'm average at. This is something that I could be doing so much better. So it's cool that you guys even just throw that question out there.
No, it's super cool. His dad puts it perfectly. It's just like that. It's self-awareness is like the ultimate like engine behind
Everything.
everything. Right? And
I completely agree.
those like times of like just practicing being in the present, spending those 4 hours being with yourself. It's like, as painful as that is, the thing that it really makes you recognize is, holy shit, I've never actually like looked in the mirror. Holy shit, I've never actually like dove inside.
Exactly. Yeah, on that walking meditation, there was like every single person at least one day would break down crying in the middle of walking. Like just because it was like literally causing you to actually just like not just think but observe what you're thinking. The whole purpose was to acknowledge what's coming and going in your mind. And I was like rewriting stories in my head of all this past trauma. I was just like trying to just like I always go into things with like full intention.
Nice.
But I was like, yeah, I don't know, just causing myself pain, I'm sure, but it's the acknowledgement. It's just being self-aware. And
right. And it kind of unveils or takes this like very well-rounded perspective of like what's going on. Like the second you're aware of what's going on and not just in the situation of what's going on, you've already won.
You've already won. Yes. Oh,
Mhm.
that's one of my favorite things to remind myself.
And it makes you super uncomfortable too.
Yeah.
That's the best part about being self-aware. It's like you say well-rounded, but it's fucking like the worst squiggly circle ever because you have so much.
Or it's just like
Yeah, a
Well,
tornado.
yeah.
Tornado, yeah. It gets
Um,
ugly out there.
It gets ugly out there. And during those times, what do you have in your back pocket? Like when the pressure becomes stress and anxiety's rising, what do you, Alex, carry in your back pocket to overcome these situations?
Honestly, I think I learned this especially on my trip. Just, I want to say self-confidence, but not in the typical way that we know confidence to be, but the confidence of knowing like who I am and that I'm like so completely guided and supported, and that everything that's happening for me is already just kind of like written out and planned out and is meant to be happening for me. So even if I'm in a situation where I'm super stressed or I'm super anxious, for whatever reason, I have to conquer this. And it's part of like my journey of, you know, self-discovery and like overcoming that. I think just being confident in like just understanding that you are completely protected too, and knowing that there's really no reason to have fear or anything like that. Yeah, I think that would probably be it for me. The self-confidence, just like that reminder of like I'm completely good. Everything that's happening for me is good right now.
Mm-hmm. And it comes at it from a multiple angles, right? The
Right.
inner confidence and the confidence that the situation in itself
Yeah.
is right.
Right.
And
Exactly. It might not feel good, but this is all good. Everything that's happening to me is good. It's
Yes.
meant
Oh,
for
yeah.
good, you know?
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. Also, you're a very good speaker, by the way. Like
Yeah?
you're very
Oh my
like I can see your brain moving and the wheels turning as you're speaking.
I'll
and
be
you
honest. We talked about zodiacs earlier. I think that's
Yeah.
the Gemini and me. Geminis are pretty good communicators.
Can you explain the zodiac signs to me?
I am not an astrologer, so
Yeah.
I don't know how much I can explain, but
But like what does it mean? Like
I-
my birthday's in February and I'm an Aquarium. Like what does that mean?
an aquarium.
An Aquarius. Sorry, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
I'm an Aquarius, not an
You're a-
aquarium.
yeah, you're
Well, you being an Aquarius is like, I mean, an Aquarius is also an air sign. We are both air signs, and
Air signs.
yeah, and we connect on that level. That's why we can have such good conversation, because
Nice.
we both kind of meet each other up there in
Right.
the air, you know?
In the air.
Um,
Seriously, that's how it works?
that's how it works,
Wow.
just like that.
straightforward.
just-
God.
If you're
Wait,
yeah.
but like where do the zodiac signs come from? Doesn't it come from like the phase of the moon that you're born in at the time that you're born?
Yeah, it all depends on where the planets were when you were born, based off of
Okay.
where exactly you were born, what exact time you were born,
Oh.
day obviously.
And
But
then
there's so
that-
much more. Like you have your moon sign, your sun sign, your rising sign, your Venus. There's so much that goes into your chart. We'll have to like
This
dive
is like
into
a
it.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
whole thing we're gonna have to dive
Yeah.
into.
Okay.
We gotta get drunk
gotta
and then unpack our zodiac.
Unpack it, right? Of
zodiac
course. I gotta just clarify one thing. I was fixing your mic right off show, and I mentioned I was an Aries, and then you just go under your breath, you go, oh, an Aries male,
Yeah. That's just
and I go, I get this a lot, but
he literally said, "Oh yeah, I get that a lot."
but I've never I don't know what that means.
It's a personal thing. It's all personal.
Okay.
I honestly don't know for sure if there's anything to be said about Gemini women and Aries men, but the Aries men in my life have just
They suck.
I don't
Okay,
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus.
They're not that great.
they're below average.
Yeah.
Average quality.
They're just average guys.
Yeah.
Well, and we are too, but they're less than average. So how do they come up with the traits for each sign? That's the part that I never understand. Cause like
It's just written in the stars, you know.
okay, great,
Yeah.
thanks. All right, hey, thank you. But here's the thing, like my whole thing is, for each sign,
Mhm.
they just write as many different kind of traits for that sign so that when
Yeah,
you
you're
read
right.
it,
And like, who's they, right?
right, who's they? And then
don't know.
like every time someone reads their sign,
It makes
they're
sense.
always just like, "Oh my god, that's so me."
Here's
Like,
the thing. There's things about me and my chart that I've dove into that I'm kind of like, I don't really see that where that works. But
good to know.
I'm just such like a feelings person. I'm like, if it feels like it resonates with me, then I'm gonna take it as something for me to hold on to. You know,
Right.
like if I read my chart or if I read my, horoscope of the day, whatever. If it resonates, it does, and if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
Sure.
If it does, it's just cool because it's like,
It resonated with me.
yeah. But the more you get to know your chart and your sign and like who, like, the way that I see it, it's all just like how you are kind of just designed, and like you can go back to those things and be like, so this is why I communicate like this. And a lot of times you might read it or see it and be like, this doesn't make sense, but if it does, then it clicks and you can just keep it in your back pocket.
I like it. That's very, very well said.
That's awesome.
That's super good branding.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, isn't there a sign that's, isn't Cancer a sign?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good branding from the people, Like, let's choose a different word for the sign. Like, I get to say I'm an Aquarius, and you
Yeah.
get to say you're a Gemini,
Yeah.
and Andrew gets to say he's an Aries. But there's someone out there that has to say that they're a Cancer.
To be honest,
And that sucks.
I'm right on the cusp of Gemini and Cancer. If that it probably doesn't.
What's
make sense
the date range for Cancer?
to you, I
Even
think
saying that's bad, but
I
it's
think
funny.
it starts the 22nd of June, and my birthday's the 18th of June. So it's like when you're on a cusp, you're kind of like near when the other sign starts. So I supposedly carry Cancer qualities.
Bring your mic closer.
Yeah,
I supposedly carry Cancer qualities
interesting.
with my Gemini sun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Marcus, do you have any knowledge of the
What's
the
your
zodiac
sign, Marcus?
chart?
My sign is the Scorpio sign.
Whoa.
Scorpio's
Oh,
the
it's Scorpio, yeah.
best.
Yo, so
Didn't Drake name an album after his sign? He's got a,
yeah,
okay,
Yo.
yeah.
that was his last one.
Me and my friend,
So unrelated.
we've been talking all week. My good friend that I'm living with right now, we talk all the time about how Scorpios are the best. So,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Dude,
tried.
you are the best, man.
Thank you.
What is the what time of the year is a Scorpio?
November, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm November 17th.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
We just
that's a
need to
good
know that
birthday.
as a corporation for,
we
corporate
go.
celebration.
It's not
it's
like
out
a
there.
specific.
It's out
The
there.
dates are. It's not just like, oh, November is Scorpios. It's like a weird.
It's a
number.
date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Like Gemini's are May to June. Yeah, I don't know. It's all over
Okay.
the place. I like I said, I'm not an astrologer. I don't know enough.
Yeah.
But you know
could
enough about
recommend it.
enough.
I could recommend a few people. I only really know much about myself and my own and like what works with me and what doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. Which
Again-
is important. You don't need to know about the others.
Yeah, but that's fitting for this podcast because this is your podcast.
Yeah.
This is about you,
Yeah.
so it works out great. But anyways, Marcus, Scorpio, you got any questions for Alex?
Yeah, so when I found out you were coming on the show, I was really excited because you're a photographer. I really enjoy photography, and I
Yeah.
thought it'd be interesting because I knew that you were traveling, and so I thought that there was going to be this kind of mindset of living in the present.
Yeah.
So I was curious about how, when you do execute like the photos and the ideas that you have, what's your process like? How do you kind of compose and create the perfect picture?
Oh my gosh.
Good question.
Everything is so just in the moment for me. I love, I am a wedding photographer, but I don't really, I don't just like own that as like that's all that I do. I love wedding photography because I love capturing emotion. And obviously with emotion, you can't, yes, you can definitely, stylize an emotional shoot and like, okay, give me this face, but capturing emotion, even if it's just genuine happiness, is my absolute favorite thing. So I love just kind of carrying around my camera with me and just because I hate the moments when I'm like, oh, I wish I had my camera right now. But those are always my favorite pictures when it's just hanging, my camera's in my back pocket and I'm, carrying it around and all of a sudden my friend is doing something or someone on the street is like, inspiring me and I'm like, click, click, and boom, there it is. And I kind of have my whole like, my style of editing and like the perspective that I like and that sort of thing. But capturing people in the moment with emotion is just my absolute favorite thing.
Nice. Yeah. And for me, I mean, I used to do a lot of like landscaping pictures. Those are like my favorites. And then slowly I've been trying to do more portraits. And portraits are really hard because you have to like direct people. And like when you are trying to get a certain thing from them and be like, hey, I need this face. Like, can you guys just smile a little bit more? Like, it's kind of awkward. So how do you go about dealing with clients that maybe aren't giving the emotions that you're looking for?
I think just taking a step back, I love just kind of, you know, first of all, just kind of announcing that I'm there to just capture you genuinely. I don't necessarily want to, you know, I don't want to make you feel awkward or like make you do anything that isn't normal for you. So I kind of go into it with the mindset of it's my job to be personal enough with them to make them feel comfortable around me. Just to kind of receive what I'm looking for without, you know, it's not, you know, it's kind of just like that subconscious connection of like, I'm, you know, I again, I just want to make you feel like you can be natural with me. And so I can get a natural photo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, I think some of the best pictures have a lot of story behind them, or at least a lot of meaning to the photographers that take them. Yeah. Could you walk us through like your favorite or one of your favorite photos and like the story behind that?
Wow. Yeah. You know, when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind, obviously just speaking on this trip, I took these pictures in the Bangkok bus station or the train station. Have you been there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just had the perspective of, you know, in the train station, everyone's sitting on the ground. So there's just so much going on in their seats, but there's not enough seats. So people are just kind of laying on their bags on the ground. And I ended up being one of those people on the ground, but I was laying right in the middle. So I had the perspective of the whole archway in the train station. And there was this little boy running around, chasing a bird that was in the train station. And he just had so much joy. As his dad is just chilling there, like obviously they're waiting for their train. He's just like filled with like so much excitement chasing this bird. And at one point the bird was flying towards me while the kid was obviously chasing the bird. So he was running towards me and I had the perspective of the archway. So he's running through the middle and I just snapped a few pictures and the whole process of like the bird flying up and he's like reaching for the bird. And it was just the cutest, coolest, most authentic, just true to Thailand photo shoot.
Very nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
God, that's super cool.
I could probably pull up the pictures, but I don't know if that's a waste of time.
Yeah, so no, see picture here.
Yeah,
it'll be in the post-production.
Yeah, we'll post-produce that one for
love
you.
it.
No worries. God, that kicks a lot of ass, dude. I like that. Thanks for asking photo questions.
Yeah, I know we didn't touch on that, but honestly, this whole journey wasn't really much about my business, so, but it is still part of who I am. So. Cool.
Right. Your business is who you are.
Way to go,
right.
Marcus.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thanks for bringing this up.
Okay, so someone asks you, and you've gotten this question before. Someone asks you, "Oh, how was your trip?" And you obviously are like, "Terrible question."
Yeah.
I have so many things to tell you about. If you choose like one thing to when someone asks that question to like encapsulate the trip to the best of your ability, maybe a story, maybe an experience, something, what would that be when someone asks you, how was your trip?
Gosh, that's
tough.
That just, wow.
Well, knowing that you're explaining it to people that have just heard your story, right? So you do have the leg up now.
Yeah.
So you're not going in blind.
Right.
True.
Yeah. These are like the most dedicated listeners, right? We're sitting here at like the hour or something.
We've been rambling. My story is like all over the place, but it's amazing.
No, it's perfect.
Thank you
it's
for
perfect,
listening.
Right? Yes.
It's perfect. Just the way it is. You know, even going off of that, like my trip was just exactly what it needed to be. It was perfect the way that it went. And I can say that because I had absolutely no plan. Like it just completely, I have zero regrets. There's nothing, you know, I only left with more ideas to come. I was really sad to be leaving, but I didn't leave with the mindset of, oh, I wish I did this or I didn't do that. You know, I really was just like, it's going the exact way that it needs to go. And I think it only went that way because I allowed my time to just be so completely open and free. And I allowed myself to just be open to any experience in order for whatever was meant for me just to, you know, hop in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, overall it was just completely, you know, I want to say rewiring, because I feel like I learned like all these things that I've been practicing and learning my whole life were kind of just tested during this trip, and maybe just, you know, unwired a little bit and brought back together in certain ways. But
that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
An unwiring and rewiring of how you think.
Yeah.
Wow. That's super.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. No, that's super cool, because it's not like you come back a changed person.
No, and that's what I was gonna say. I feel like I've changed more in the past 3 months than I have in the past 3 years. But really, it's like I'm the same person. I just, you know, experienced all these new things that allowed just me, the real authentic me to kind of be expressed.
Right. Well, and then even taking that a step further, I mean, you know, you've mentioned a few times now that you want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
You already work for yourself, which bravo.
Mm-hmm.
That's super. I'm
Thank
very
you.
envious of you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Where do you go from here? What's kind of like that storyboard or that story arc that you wanted? Like, what's that next thing that you want to go after? Post coronavirus, obviously.
I was gonna say, as long as this thing, you know, this virus, which is a very significant thing, I won't downplay it, but if it allows, I would love to go back this winter. I love, you know, I was genuinely excited to come back to Minnesota and be here for the summer. I love Minnesota summers. Like I said, I realized there that I have the coolest friends. I want to be here to hang out with them. But, you know, the winter in Minnesota is just something I've experienced enough, you know, 25 years of
Oh, you've
snow.
been here your whole life?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why you would be sick of it.
Right. Yeah, it's like
That's fair.
I just don't need to experience it ever again. I always have told my mom I'll be the distant relative that comes home for a week of snow for Christmas or something.
Mm-hmm.
But India is where I'm just already ready to go back there.
Damn.
I experienced the southwest side of it, which is just super islandy, and you're right on the beach, and there's that whole scene. But then as you start going up, like you said, towards the Himalayas, it gets to be a lot more maybe adventurous. Rishikesh is like the yoga capital of the world, so I would love to go there. I want to ride camels. There's so much to India, and I realized obviously when I was there that I could spend so much more time there. So that's what I'm hopefully looking forward to, and hopefully I'll kind of go into it with more of a maybe photography will be more of a
well, yeah. I mean, similar to like how you see the vision for us being able to, you know, go and podcast around the world, like photography definitely is a part of that too.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's definitely a chance and definitely an opportunity that you could probably do a lot of what you're talking about here.
Definitely.
You can probably duplicate that elsewhere.
Right.
And I've always wanted to be a traveling photographer, but I needed this trip as just more of like an internal self thing, you know? But now, like I was saying before, now that I've done it once, I feel like I could be so ready to go back and actually have certain maybe business goals.
There you go.
Passion goals, whatever.
The flame has been ignited.
Exactly. That's how it feels.
Yes.
That's so damn cool.
Well, through this whole experience, you've allowed yourself to flourish. And I think that's like the theme of it, which is really dope. Like you've put yourself in uncomfortable situations, you've challenged yourself, and you've pushed forward. That's so dope. And I'm like sitting here truly inspired. You're a badass. Like, so thank you for coming on and sharing the story.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It's been killer. And how the Backpocket has seemed to like the best growth tactic is to tap more into the Alex Fenner or more into the guests that we have on our show.
Yeah.
So we're curious if you think there would be someone else inside your back pocket, if you will, that you think would want to come on our show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like a lot of my friends are just awesome with, you know, just their telling their stories. When I was thinking about this before, I kind of already in my head just thought of how you guys should have Michael come on.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
We already had him on.
Oh, you did?
That's the reason we know you.
I know. I didn't know that he was on here though.
About a year ago?
I would say
Around, more than a year ago.
Was it? Okay. Yeah.
No, wait. No, you're right. It was
It was
about May of last year.
Okay.
Michael came
Sure.
on, and to
Damn,
be
you
honest
beat me
with
to
you,
it. Well, maybe check back in.
No, but we
no,
should.
yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely should have him back on. He's like a good friend now. But I
Yeah.
think that's one of those things where, like, he set us on a path. Like we were recommended, like, oh yeah, have MJ on. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
And then he became a good friend, and then he, him running Unreal, he's connected with all these different people, and then like he got us in touch with like a PR agency in the Twin Cities who helped us like get Chad Greenway and helped us get Ben Lieber and like
Carly
Okay.
Zucker.
Carly Zucker.
See, I
and,
do
like,
remember seeing those podcasts, so now I understand the connection.
So
Mhm.
like Michael
Mhm.
Jordan kind of like guest of the year last year because of not only like he's just a good friend now, and we totally vibed in one of his podcasts, one of the most downloaded last year, but the opportunities that have come from him specifically to this day, to this very moment,
Unknown
Yeah.
opportunity.
unknown, you
Yeah.
know, like that's why we love asking that question, because
Just a guy from Matamidi.
a guy from Matamidi, a guy
Yeah.
from White Bear, puts us in touch with 6-7 other people that are span across a very different all walks of life,
Yeah.
So if you have anybody
planted
else
that seed.
besides Mike, let us know, because we're
Okay.
always looking to have more people on. This thing's just gonna keep going forever.
Yeah, I will definitely create a list then.
Hell
yeah.
because-
Love that.
Yeah.
What's super cool too, like going back to like the different people that you meet along your journey in Thailand, like I could see why a podcast might even work even further, because the people that you meet in these places.
I was gonna say, can you do could it be someone that is like not physically here? Because
yeah.
I mean, it would be a whole different method, but there's just
But the journey to
That-
get to that person
Right.
makes a whole lot more sense.
or doing
Who did you have in mind?
I was just thinking about some of the people that I've met,
Oh,
that are
yeah.
around the world. So it would probably just be like a virtual thing, but
Right. No. We would have to actually travel. Like, we
Yeah.
would go to find them,
well, that'd be fun for you guys.
Right.
Go
Mhm.
find the guy who's riding on his bicycle. I think he's in Malaysia right now.
That's sick.
Yeah, we'll scoop him up.
Yeah.
Throw 'em on the
find
mics.
it. Yeah.
English is his second language, but
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But
That's why we have the trifold.
that's why we had the travel. We can show them, the fun things we made. This coronavirus trifold science project was made like March 16th, 17th, somewhere around there. I don't know.
Right
when-
before current
right
quarantine.
before it became like a big deal. So if
We
you
were
see
made-
anything on
Yeah,
here
we
where
made
it's
it
like,
out of
"Geez,
humor, and it might not have aged well. But
didn't age well. Like, what was it? Buying
Facts.
flights, tickets, and concerts events this summer. I don't know if that's gonna age well at all.
this
don't
is so
panic.
good.
Stay strong though.
I love where it says dogs can't get coronavirus.
Right. That's the number one fact.
Yeah.
Which now they can. Right. We found that out.
I know. I was like, just thinking about it, like wandering around like parks and things, like when dogs run up to you and you want to be cute and like pet them.
Yeah.
Is that danger zone or
I don't know.
it's
Um,
probably not?
You
a
don't
good
have
idea.
corona, right?
No,
Okay.
but does the dog?
Maybe.
Maybe.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Or he could be a carrier.
That's why you sanitize.
That's why you
All
say
day
that.
long.
Yeah. You just don't have dogs on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's for our sake. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
Right. God, that's great. How was it getting back to the States?
Wow.
Because wasn't that kind of like a rushed thing?
Yeah, that itself is like a whole story.
Oh, man.
It was really testing, and it's kind of cool to think about, because I feel like the final days of my trip, plus coming home, tested everything that I learned throughout my entire 3 months. Yeah, it was rushed. I mean, for a while, I was just so ignorant. I was just in ignorance is bliss. I was just blissed out in the middle of the jungle in India. Like, this isn't affecting me. I'm not, I'm going to go home. When I'm ready to go home, I'm going to continue my plan. I'm going to go up north and whatever. And then they started closing internal transportation in India. So I wasn't able to go north anymore. So then that kind of started to spark things like, they're making changes here. Like now, I mean, especially considering that I had to get north to be able to fly home. You can't fly to the United States or anywhere from southern India. So I had to go north. So then I was like, shit, I got to figure out how I'm going to get up north now to even just go home. I went through a couple canceled flights to get up there. I thought I had the best case scenario. Like once I decided I was ready to go home, I was like, okay, get me home. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I was like,
you had already made the decision.
Yeah, I'm already home. I'm already planning on it. Like now I'm just worried about actually making it. I had, you know, the best flight, I thought, from southern India to northern India to straight to Chicago. And when I landed at 2 a.m. in northern India, I found out that my flight to Chicago was canceled. So I'm in northern India, somewhere I've never been before, in this airport. Like, okay, first of all, this is canceled because they're starting to cancel flights. So I'm kind of starting to freak out because I'm like, flights are canceling. Like, how, this is now my third flight that was canceled. Like, how am I actually going to make it home, you know?
Right.
And I'm here alone. I've never been up here before, whatever. Guess I'll figure it out. I ended up spending 3 hours talking to this guy at the counter, just trying to find any flight to the United States. It literally took me 3 hours to find a flight to the U.S., even with like
connections.
Yeah.
It
was nearly impossible. And at this point, I found out that they were closing the airport in India completely at this time tomorrow for me. So I had 24 hours to find a flight to get home. Otherwise, I was going to be stuck in India.
Wow.
Which is just crazy thinking about, especially considering that I originally wasn't planning on leaving at that time. I was planning on waiting a few more days or a few more weeks even. So
right.
It was kind of crazy how it worked out, because I ended up finding a flight that took me from India to Tokyo to New York to Minnesota, which was just ended up being days and days of travel, of course. But
right.
I ended up, just buying this crazy expensive ticket just to get me home, and sat in the airport for 24 hours and a few more hours after that, and it just kind of became crazy how.
Yeah.
But
did you ever get like screened, or did people have to test you
and
stuff?
that's what's really messed up, I think, because here we are freaking out, especially about international travel, right? So I was expecting to come back to like some kind of like structured quarantine where they were going to send me off somewhere and be like, you got to stay here for a while because like you've been traveling to all these places and all these planes and all these airports for, so long. And I walked through customs with not even a question. It was just like, welcome home. Like I just came
Another
back
day
from
at the block.
Yeah. I was so confused. I was so confused.
What day was this when you came back, like roughly?
End of March?
Yeah, March 22nd.
Oh, wow.
It was in the middle of all
in
this.
the heart of the quarantine.
Yeah, it really was.
What?
And New York at the time, that's the first place that I flew into the U.S.
Wow.
New York is like
the hot spot.
Yeah. It was the weirdest thing,
Yeah,
especially because my flight was from Tokyo, which was like another hot spot, supposedly. Yeah, I don't know. I was really shocked. I ended up, I landed at about midnight, and it was kind of surreal because at that point I was just delusional. I was sleeping on airport cement for like days. Just nothing was normal in my head.
Right.
But I fell asleep, and I truly, honestly slept for 20 hours straight. I only woke up because my mom was like, are you alive? Like, breathe, show me some kind of movement. And I went right back to sleep. It was the craziest. I've never experienced jet lag like that ever. And it was like days and days and days. It took me so long.
Adrenaline dump too.
Yeah, that.
Because like you're finally in position where you are like, you don't have to worry about, finding the bed for the night.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that play. I don't know. I'm not saying that's the whole thing. That just plays an extent to it.
But I was gonna say, it almost like made me uncomfortable. Like I went straight to sleeping on the floor. Like I it was hard for me to be comfortably sleeping in a bed, because yes, I was sleeping in beds when I was traveling, but
It's different.
it's so different. I
Yeah.
just felt so disconnected from, you know, nature and where I was, because everywhere that I stayed was like there was access for any kind of reptile to climb in. So
That's wild.
it was all just super connected, you know? So being like back in a suburb home, you know, it was just like, this is too comfortable almost.
Too structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting, man. I want to go back so bad.
I know.
It's like the best thing ever. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I wonder what it'd be like a long time there though.
Yeah, like I said, I think I did, because I went all over Thailand, north to south. So I experienced the islands. I experienced all of the country. Not all of it, but
A good portion.
a good portion. I was ready after 2 months to kind of get out of there.
Oh, you were? Okay. See, that's the thing. Like, we could like just spend all kinds of time over there, but like, yeah, you do have to honestly do a solid like 2 months to get a grounding to
I
get
could
those
see
days.
I could see how people could stay there when they're there for a purpose, like teaching yoga or doing some kind of training or something. I met a lot of people that were staying in hostels for free just by volunteering at the hostel. So there's so many kind of ways to navigate it, and you know, to stay for a long period of time. Like, you could go and be in touch with this hostel and stay at this specific place for a month with free food and a free bed and everything, just to kind of help out for a few hours a day. So
Right.
I love that. Well, I do have to ask the question. What did you learn today? So, you know, you're spending all this time. Spent a lot of. How long has this podcast been going for? Like an hour or so?
It's been going for 2 hours and a minute.
Holy shit.
Just at the 2 hour mark. Nice.
Look at
we
this,
just
dude.
talked for 2 hours? Is
Yeah.
that real? Wow.
Yeah. See, this is like half of the 4-hour meditation, but we're literally all we're doing is just talking and listening to each other.
And I feel like I just scratched the surface.
Right. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
Which means you got to come back on it at some
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
point.
for
But
sure.
anyways, you know,
Plenty
staying
of boxes to unpack.
exactly. There's just we've been sent too many boxes and we still have so many other things to unpack. But you know, staying rooted in the present, you know, what did you learn today?
You know, kind of tying everything together, I feel like I learned how possible it is to just execute. Like, you guys really just made this happen. Like, we didn't know each other before this, you know, and you're just like welcoming not only new people, but just like a new conversation, a new a whole new experience, I guess. And you've really done the work to not just have the idea of, you know, sitting down and having a conversation with someone, but like, here we are, like, it's completely set up and it's set up perfectly, and you guys are executing. Like, I see how possible. I think maybe it's just a reminder of, like, you know, you can have a passion or an idea and just follow through with it. And I admire that, because it's not always easy to connect with a stranger. You never know, like, who you're gonna run into, what's the vibe gonna be, like, how are you gonna be able to actually hold a conversation. And here we are 2 hours later, you know.
Right. No, and I think that's like the power of what we do. Or it's not even the power of what we do. It's the power of you and this connection that we all have that we don't necessarily tap into all the time.
Yeah.
Like, we've had conversations with strangers before. We've done over 250 of them. So
that's wild.
Right. We've been doing this for 3 years now, and we're not surprised when we have awesome conversations with someone we've never met, but it's still so eye-opening and rewarding every time we do it.
Right.
And I'm trying to understand why that is, but I think a lot of it has to do with this idea that, you know, we all kind of relate to each other in a certain way.
We do, yeah. There's always something that, I mean, talking about Earth Day, like, we all come from the same place, you know?
Right.
And, like, it's just the idea of allowing everyone to express their story, because somewhere in your story, I'm going to find my story, and vice versa, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think the world needs more of that. Just like,
definitely.
let's all
just
sit down and
conversation.
Yeah, let's all sit down and like drink margaritas and talk about whatever and like see where we can relate and have a good time. Because I I don't know. I just think the world needs more of that.
Yeah,
mixing
I
some
agree.
kombucha.
Yeah, mixing some kombucha.
Yeah,
Why not?
kombucha and tequila.
Yep.
God bless. Well, Alex, you've been an absolute blessing
Yay.
to
Thank you,
everyone,
guys.
including ourselves. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. So awesome.
That's
Thank
a
you guys
wrap.
for having me.
Let's go.